Hey there guys, what's going on? It's Gale right here, back on the 5-9 channel, and we are here for another anime related video. And today we're gonna be talking about where does Demon Slayer go from here. Now when I say from here, it's been a month since the movie released, or depending on when this video releases, exactly when a month since the movie's released, or a bit around that. And today with me we have Varied Geek. So how are you doing, my G?
Pretty good. Still living off that movie because that movie's phenomenal, dude.
Of course, yeah, that movie is phenomenal. So this video is basically going to contain 4 sections. If you see on your bar at the bottom, you guys can probably see the chapters, quote unquote, that YouTube has, where you can see sections. So we're gonna obviously talk a bit about the movie a month later. How do we feel about the movie? Obviously, it's resounding success, which we'll come on to in just a second. The second chapter, or the second section, will be containing our thoughts on what they could do in season 2 and how they're going to lead into season 2 from the movie's ending. And then chapters 3 and 4 will be containing the console game and the gacha game respectively. So without further ado, let's get into section 1, that is the movie itself. Now, of course, when I say the resounding success the movie has had, we just found out a couple of days before this recording that Demon Slayer is now officially the highest grossing film of 2020, and it's been a month since its release in the US. I do not think it's released in China just yet. I think it's around the corner. I think it's supposed to release at the end of this month or next month. Some European countries haven't gotten it. The UK, where I'm from, is only getting it at the end of this month because obviously lockdown, we're just getting out of lockdown in a couple of days from now. And so there's still a lot more to come from Demon Slayer, but you know, both Geek and I have watched it. We've both watched the movie. Geek, 1 month later, I know you, last time we had Geek on for the review, by the way, he hadn't read the manga. Since then he's read the manga. So Geek, general thoughts, what do you think about obviously the movie now that you've read the manga and that specific arc, and what do you think about the resounding success Demon Slayer has had?
Actually, yeah. Now that I've read it and I can actually compare a little bit more to the manga, and I think UFO Table as a company is obviously everyone knows them for Fate and now Demon Slayer and stuff. But entirely the way they adapted the fight and the arc into one film, I think was a great decision. And they also expanded upon the final fight in the film, which it was relatively short actually in the manga. It was
Yeah.
actually it was only like maybe half a chapter or 1 chapter only. Like it was actually pretty short. So after reading the manga, I'm actually like way more hype than I was. I literally like I watched the movie, read the manga, then watched season 1 again. Like because I was like, damn, like this is really good. And I think the overall feeling of Demon Slayer, because I'm really excited for season 2 and onward.
Yep.
Demon Slayer is really digestible, right? Like it's,
Yes.
like I don't think it's anything like crazy groundbreaking, but the story that it tells it well, and it's very accessible.
I completely agree with you on that one, and I think that leads us obviously into how and why did it become such a resounding success, and that's the point in a nutshell, right? People are saying like, oh, it's not as good as a One Piece or a JJK or AOT or something, but people seem to forget Kimetsu no Yaiba or Demon Slayer doesn't necessarily need to be a complex story such as AOT, or a long-lasting, you know, a pillar, that I should say, a long-lasting pillar as One Piece, right? It's
Yeah.
simple, short, and works so well, and it holds up to the traditions and culture of the Japanese people, which allows it to succeed so much in Japan, to the point where it's the most successful film in Japan, I should say, right? So it works out really well, and I'm not surprised about the reception it's had from the West either, to be honest, because again, it's something simple, straightforward, people can digest it really easily, like you said, Geek, right? And
Yep.
it's very appreciable, I guess, or very easy to understand and comprehend, and people don't need to invest too much time into it. I guess that's the best way to put it, right? Um,
No, yeah. I was just gonna like again, like I mentioned earlier already. Like it's just that like some people don't have the time, like you mentioned as well, like to like read 1,000+ chapters of One Piece, which I have, right?
yes.
But not everyone has that much time to read that, and they can read a 205 chapter manga or like watch a 3 season, or yeah, it would be 3 season and a movie of an anime, or and just watch it and be done, right? It's really
Yeah.
digestible and quick.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And my personal opinion, 1 month later, of course, having recently rewatched it as well, I'll be going as well to the theaters to watch it at the end of this month. Of course, once lockdown decides to go away, for lack of a better way of saying it. But I
Yeah.
will still maintain, I think I really enjoyed it rewatching it. Still get emotional at the scenes that I mentioned, even in the main review itself. Still adore the characters and how they were brought to life, I suppose. And on top of that, of course, the animation quality top notch again. Still have some niggling issues with the CGI, but I'll still maintain the I stand by my rating that I gave it last time. It's still a 9.5 for me. I think it's super easily digestible. It's something you can quickly go watch, 2 hours. You'll have a blast, and you can come back and talk about it realistically, right? So overall, I think, once I obviously go and see it in the theaters, I'll be able to give a better example, because obviously it's still a theatrical experience. I've not been able to go and watch it in a theater properly. But Geek, of course, now that you've read the manga and stuff, does your opinion change at all regarding the movie since the review itself?
No, it's. I think overall, like my in general opinions, which if you want to see our full thoughts, you should check out the review we did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's around like 45 minutes, so we go really in depth with spoilers and stuff.
Yeah.
But overall, I still give it, like, I still love it. It's still like a 9.5 out of 10. But yeah, I have the same thoughts that I had there. I still really love the film. Nothing really changed with for me.
Yep, that's fair. That's completely fair. So now we'll move into the second part of this video, which is going to be about season 2. Now, of course, this is where some minor spoilers may crop up here and there. So if you're not, interested in it, be sure to mute the video or go to another section for the time being. I think that'll be the best way to go about it. Of course, this will when I say minor spoilers, it'll probably will be talking a bit about like the initial section of the season, so the first episode or first to second episodes, basically. So, Geek, how do you think they can go from here? Now that we're obviously running at the end of the movie, we saw what happened and everything. Now, how do you think we'll go into the second season? Oh, by the way, also we should say spoilers for the movie, of course, because we're going to be talking about how they're going to progress from the end of the movie, which something
Yeah.
major happens to the second part. So, mind you, if you haven't watched the movie, that's also something to consider. But yeah, how do you think you're going to move in from the end of the movie to the second season?
I think it's gonna be like a seamless like transition. I think it's gonna open up with, because obviously at the end of the movie, Rengoku passes away after fighting Akaza, right?
Yes.
So the problem was that at the end of this specific arc, they didn't really show it, but they're like almost immediately after, basically the end of the film, you see Akaza running towards Muzan to give him like a progress report on what happened.
Yep.
And Muzan's never in a good mood with anyone that fails, right?
Yep, never.
So,
I mean, we
like,
saw what happened in the end of season 1 with that situation.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
be honest.
Like-
that didn't really get necessarily go to plan for any of the lower moons
Yeah.
or the lower rank moons.
one guy tried to run away, just instantly got decapitated.
Yep.
But yeah, so I think it's gonna open there, and I think it's gonna continue into the other section that comes immediately after the movie, which is Tanjiro actually goes to see Rengoku's family.
Yes.
So I think that's gonna be the majority of the first episode to kind of ease you back in after like a tragedy, because I don't think Demon Slayer is gonna be like, well, this like everything I said is gonna be 5 minutes and the rest is gonna be like, or the next arc is starting.
Yeah.
I think the first episode is gonna ease you back in, let you sit with the tragedy that just happened, and then we're gonna get into the red light district stuff.
Yes, of course, yeah, that's 100% gonna happen. And of course, the red light district arc. Now, this is obviously touted as, I'd arguably say, the most popular arc amongst the fan base, I'd say. Personally, I think it's definitely one of the best. I personally enjoyed I'll be one of those guys who will be like, I actually prefer the final arc a bit more, purely because of some of the backstories of not only what happens at the end, but also just generally the fight scenes and whatnot. But
Yeah.
but that's a discussion for another day. We might do a complete review of Demon Slayer at some point, so if you're interested in that, let us know in the comment section down below. But we obviously see the sound Hashira for the first, well, not for the first time. We saw him obviously at the end of season 1, but we'll see him in a full-fledged manner this time around, similar to how Rengoku, obviously showed his prowess in the movie. This time it's the sound Hashira's turn. So let's talk about the character himself. So no spoilers, but how do you like his character, Geek, if you want to kind of dive into that a bit? How do you prefer like his character?
Actually, for the first time, like when I first saw him, he was like a little like annoying because obviously we don't know the character, and I think a lot of the Hashiras kind of came off that way, very cold-hearted and but that's I feel like it's every character in Demon Slayer, right? They always start off very cold-hearted, but then you get some backstory, and then you're like, okay, you know what? They're not that bad, right?
Yes.
But no, I really like Uzui as a character, design and learning his abilities and stuff. Like during like the stuff that happens in the Red Light District arc, he has some of my favorite like abilities. Actually, I think his breathing technique, his sound breathing, is because obviously he's a sound Hashira, right?
Yes.
His sound breathing like techniques and stuff is like, I can't wait to see how they like UFO table goes nuts with that. That's gonna look wild.
100% agree with you on that one. That is gonna be very interesting. I mean, when you think of sound, like I'm a guy who's been like, when it comes to the breathing styles, I'm so disappointed that we never actually in full-fledged saw a ice breathing style, but instead
Ice, yeah.
ice would have been fantastic, but we didn't ever see a proper ice breathing style. But the sound breathing style that obviously Uzui possesses, I suppose is the best way to put it, is insane, and the stuff he does is ridiculous. Now, of course, one thing we also have to say and discuss as well is that the entire thought process of Tanjiro discussing with Rengoku in the movie was around whether or not, regarding the Hinokami Kagura dance. At one point, specifically, I should say, there was a bit of a discussion about that. I do believe, and of course, not do believe. I think we're obviously gonna go into a lot more detail in season 2. So if you guys are interested in learning more about the Hinokami Kagura, we're definitely going to see a lot more about that, a little bit more details about that. Are you actually in? How did you find the whole thing with the Hinokami Kagura stuff that you read, Geek? Is it good enough for people to be interested in, or was it too little even in the Entertainment District arc?
I think it's a little bit because I feel like the Hinokami stuff. Obviously, no spoilers for the rest of the manga, but I feel like that the Hinokami itself, the style,
Yeah.
it's Tanjiro's style that develops throughout the entire story. So I wasn't really upset that like maybe if it doesn't get fully fleshed out in the next season, because it's something that'll like develop over time as time progresses, you know.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that rather than just like, oh hey, oh you know about Hinokami, sweet, here's like the complete manual on how to do it, right? Like like I kind of like that Tanjiro has to basically learn, and through his experience and his own memories, like perform and outperform his prior self, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really like that more so than just, hey, he had the book, sweet, now I know everything.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we don't want to go into too much spoilers, so I think we can kind of ease off from the season 2 stuff. And of course, hopefully, you guys are interested in season 2. I personally think it's obviously going to come in fall. I mean, that's the most likely case because obviously the summer season starts next month. So, if anything, Demon Slayer will probably crop up in October instead. Now, of course, well, actually, before I go on to the next part, season 2. How many episodes do you think the Entertainment District arc will take? Will it be a 24 episode like season 1, or do you think it'll
No.
be 12 episodes?
Nah, it's gonna be the Entertainment District arc is gonna be, I will say 9 to 12 episodes. Yeah, I think it's gonna be like, because like I mentioned before, Demon Slayer is really fast paced, and these arcs, a lot of things happen, but they're short in terms of like actual arcs. So I think like if you think like One Piece or even Naruto or whatever, like where like for example the Pain arc was like stretching from like Jiraiya all the way to the Naruto, which is a long time.
Yeah.
But for Demon Slayer, these arcs are really short, so I think like it's gonna be like 9 to 12 episodes. I personally.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be something else in this season.
Yeah, I
I
think so
believe.
as well. I think if they are going to do a 24 episode season, then there will have to be something else as well, I do believe. Because I do believe the Red Light District arc, like you said, is a bit short for a 24 episode season. They could also just do a 12 episode season instead. That is also very much
That
possible.
that's possible. Yeah, I
That is
agree.
very
That is
much
possible.
possible. We have to accept that fact that it is very much possible. But if it's not, then there is a potential one or two more arcs I feel they could adapt before, obviously, the final arc, of course. All right, so let's move on to the game section. Of course, the game obviously has been getting a lot of characters being announced in the last couple of weeks slash months. Of course, the most recent additions in the last week, I'd say. I mean, I'm surprised there were two announcements. It was part of the Weekly Jump, if I'm not mistaken, the Weekly Jump magazine,
I
that they made
believe
the
so. Yeah.
the announcements, and it was Shinobu and Rengoku. But of course, I personally haven't asked Geek about his opinions on the game, even personally. So Geek, what do you think about the game, and how excited are you for the game coming out?
I'm actually really excited because when it first got announced, I wasn't too excited because I hadn't read the manga at the time, so I just thought of it as like, okay, it's a Storm clone. I thought Demon Slayer was really good with really good animation, but I didn't know the rest of the story, right? But having watched the movie and read the manga, I am super hyped to see what they do because obviously Cyber Connect 2 is making it.
Mm-hmm.
So especially now that Rengoku's in it, that's a main. You already know that's a
Yep.
main.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but the question I more so have, like not only for you, Gail, but in general, I guess for the comment section, is do you think they'll dive into season two slash the entire story? Cause the only reason I say this because Storm 4 happened, and Storm 4 when they made it, they
Mm-hmm.
adapted the final like fight of Naruto versus Sasuke and like that entire finale before the anime even did it. Like
Yeah.
they did it like a whole like 4 months beforehand or something like that. Like they adapted it way before,
Yeah.
right? So do you think that Cyber Connect 2 will do the same with Demon Slayer, just adapt it, or they're gonna do like two games?
No, I think it'll be two games. They'll want to extend it out because you have to remember there, this is a you, having looked at it, Aniplex aren't going to just be like, yeah, we'll just do one game and call it a day there, This is
Yeah.
a gold mine they have right now. Demon Slayer is literally a gold mine. No other, like, I don't know how it happened. Obviously, we mentioned at the start of the video, like, there's obviously the whole notion that it's easily digestible and everything, of course, but even so, this is like some different level of popularity, right? So Aniplex and the committee behind the handling the property, Shueisha, I suppose, of course. Uh, I don't think they're gonna let go of this too easily. I think they're gonna completely focus on trying to milk it as much as they can, and therefore I don't think it's going to adapt anything in particular. Now, I do believe personally season 2 will be DLC. I
Oh,
think.
okay.
I think season 2 is gonna be DLC. Kind of like how Storm 4, like you mentioned, did the whole Boruto stuff, right? As DLC, if I'm
That
not
is true.
mistaken,
Yeah, they
right?
did the
Uh,
Boruto film. Yeah.
yeah, I don't remember it exactly, but they did do it as DLC, and I think it's gonna be the same. Um, I wasn't sure where the movie was gonna stand, whether it was gonna be DLC or part of the main story, but clearly now that we've got the announcement for Rengoku, it is going to be part of the main game, which I think is great. I think that needed to be as the main game because it would add more value to the base game. So I'm definitely glad that we're gonna be probably covering season 1 to the obviously the movie, right? But I do believe season 2 is going to be DLC. I don't think they're gonna focus on. I don't think they're gonna make it a main part of the game because I do believe the game is on track. I'd probably like to think it's probably gonna come out in October, November. I think they'll want to capitalize on the hype of the anime coming back and everything, right? So I think that's where they're gonna place it as. Where do you think it's gonna release, or when do you think it's gonna release as well, Geek?
I feel like fall is a good time, but they didn't really specify it. Like usually how they say, because especially with the stuff that happened, the pandemic and all that. I don't. For me, I personally feel maybe spring next year. I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Yeah.
But if at the earliest, probably like fall, winter this year at the end.
All right. Makes sense. Makes sense, of course. I will also say that one thing I am a bit, I wouldn't say disappointed, but I'm actually more disappointment than mad about it, actually, is I'm happy that they're announcing all these Demon Slayers, even random ones like Sabito and Makomo and stuff like that, right? But I'm surprised at the lack of demons being announced, right? I think that's my biggest that is my biggest concern right now, is where's the demons at, right? I don't mind playing as the demon slayers. That's gonna be a lot of fun, especially, like you said, Rengoku's up there. Shinobu's definitely gonna be a main of mine and whatnot. But I'd like to see some demons. Imagine a team of like Shinobu, Rengoku, and Akaza or something like that, right? In the first
Oh
game
yeah,
itself,
yeah,
that's
yep.
gonna be a fun team to run, right? But or well, it's a 2v2 technically, so I probably like Rengoku, Akaza, or something like that, something crazy like that, right? um so I'm hoping that they do announce more demons as we approach the release date, because I do believe we should get a couple of demons at the very minimum. Maybe Rui, Akaza, Enmu, and maybe one or two more probably from season 1, is my guess at least, right? So I'd love that. I'd love to see that potentially. And then of course whatever they add in the season 2 DLC, if there is DLC or if it's part of the main story, they can add those as well, right? Uh but yeah, let's see when that comes out. Of course, if you guys have any thoughts on it in the comment section, let us know. What would you like to see? What characters would you like to see in the game that haven't been announced so far? Let us know in the comments section. Let's move on to the gacha game, the final thing on this list of things to come from Demon Slayer. The gacha side of things, of course, Geek, you might not be, I don't know how interested you are, but of course I've been somebody who's been looking forward to the gacha since it got announced alongside the console game last year, being one of the two main gacha guys in the on the in the group, I'd say, Nolar and I, of course, but also because Demon Slayer is obviously one of my favorite franchises of all time. Was super gassed about it. Of course, in December, we did make a video, and obviously they did make an announcement as well, saying that the game was postponed indefinitely. We didn't get a date or anything, so it was indefinitely postponed. I think we did get one small thing in Weekly Jump. I don't remember exactly what it was, but we did get one small thing in Weekly Jump since then, back in like at the end of January or February beginning. And since then, it's been radio silence again, which is very concerning to me. But at the same time, I'm just there like, if you want the radio silence, that's fine. Just make it a good game, right? Because we've seen what happens to games, obviously not gacha games in particular, but other games like Cyberpunk 2077, where you're marketing it so much to the point where when it comes to release day, you can't postpone it anymore because it's just bad press again and again, right? So I personally think I'm happy that there's a bit of radio silence as long as they're working on the game. Um the one thing I will say that the gacha game did a lot better than the console game already is that they have announced that demons are going to be playable in the game. I think we saw Rui, some of the original, like the drum or the drum slash bass demon from the start of the season as well. Uh, yeah, there's a couple more as well that have been announced. So at least in that regards, the gacha game is going in the right direction with having a lot of the roster. Even they even have some of the random characters as well. Just some of the random Demon Slayer core members as well, right? So that's at least a good sign from the gacha game. But I do believe if they are going to be releasing the gacha game again, just like the console game, I think the best opportunity for it is probably right before season 2 starts, allowing them to get a bit of a kickstart. Ride the wave of the anime hype, I suppose, and they can go from there. But yeah, any thoughts from you regarding the gacha game? I know you're not as interested, but would you consider playing it? Of course, I know you're not as much of a gacha guy as I, Nolar, or anybody else, but would you consider playing it now that obviously, you've read the manga and everything? Say they decide to add more stories in the gacha game, kind of like how FGO does add stories, extra stories that kind of connect to the main storyline. Would you consider playing the Demon Slayer game if they were doing that?
Honestly, yeah. Like my main thing with gacha games is like I'm a huge Dokkan Battle fan,
Mm-hmm.
mainly because of I like that they try to push the envelope with gacha games like Grand Cross or Legends or something like that with gameplay style. But I'm a very simple guy when it comes to mobile games because like I like to play a mobile game that I can play while also doing other things without like
Mm-hmm.
putting too much IQ power into it.
Yeah.
Um, because like I could play like the new Resident Evil or Edit or don't do this, but even Drive or whatever.
Mm.
But all I have to do in Dokkan pop a bubble, right?
Yeah.
Um, for Demon Slayer, I am interested, but I'm hoping it's not like too crazy with its like summoning systems. Like one thing that kind of turned me off from Grand Cross is like the raids and like
Mm-hmm.
like how many units you need for a specific thing. But that's just gachas in general, right? So I
Yeah.
can't complain too much, right? Um, or like all the gear and all that stuff. Like I just hope it's a simple summon the unit. Maybe you need an extra couple copies, and then you're good, right? But
Yeah.
and I hope the gameplay and the graphics or whatever they decide to do with it is fun. But yeah, I'll definitely download if it comes to global, which it probably will. I'll definitely try it out for sure.
There you go. Obviously, let us know in the chat, by the way, guy, or chat. Too much streaming. In the comment section down below,
Yeah.
whether you guys are interested in the gacha game and whatnot. But yeah, that's our thoughts on what Demon Slayer is going to offer us, at least in the next year or so. Of course, we do have the final arc, which I personally think is going to be a movie. I think they will rely on it being a movie, which will be extremely exciting. But that that's a topic for another day, I think. But yeah, let us know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think of the Demon Slayer franchise as a whole? Where do you think it's going? Do you think it'll be able to maintain its level of popularity that it already has garnered so far, especially in the general audience? And yeah, Geek, any final thoughts just generally on Demon Slayer before we wrap up?
No, it's hype. You guys should read it. It's really quick, but get excited because if any manga readers are watching, season 2 is gonna be some fire. Especially if
Mm-hmm.
they if it's a 24 episode season, it's gonna be another arc in there. That
Yeah.
arc is also really good, but it's gonna be a great season.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. But yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel and you want to see more anime and gaming content, of course. And both Geek and I will see you guys next time. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.